Hello, my name is Sherrod Halliburton, and I'd like to welcome you to The Truth About Credit, the show that gives you an insider's perspective, bringing you behind the curtain, if you will, about credit, given to you from the perspective of an individual who worked for the credit bureau, as well as someone who now runs a financial institution. What I like to do is unique, and that is bring those different experiences together and share with you, our audience, how those two vantage points helps us to share information with you that will help you understand your credit and personal finances better. And if we're able to inform you, move you forward on your personal credit journey, and maybe even entertain you a little bit,
Entertain, eh?
then that means this is a good day. Now, I'm excited. I'm always excited when I have Tina Paradises in the studio. That's why I mentioned entertainment, because this is Ms.
Oh my gosh.
Entertainment. Tina works with me at the credit bureau. At the credit, OMG, at the credit union.
You're here, you're present.
I'm here and I'm present. She works with me here at the credit union, and she's our marketing director. And she is sometimes on the front line with us as we're doing our community projects and creating strategies to introduce credit improvement resources to people in our community. Thank you for joining us on The Truth About Credit.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, last time we were together, we touched on a number of different topics, and I want to kind of drill down on one of those.
Oh boy.
And yeah,
Which one?
you talked about credit as related to your time with your former husband.
Yes.
And so let's kind of drill down on that a little bit. We won't spend a lot of time talking about what you shared the last time, but just for those people who did not hear, Tina talked about the combining of credit early on in her marriage.
Right.
Credit that was established by her husband prior to them getting together, and then how that impacted her. Let's kind of start there and then see where it all goes. One thing you and I have talked about offline is this idea of you marry credit. So tell me what you meant. I just thought that was just so profound. I was like, So I thought that was so profound. So tell me what you meant by you marry credit.
Well, actually, I'm going to be asking you questions about that, because you don't really think about that when you're young and getting married, because you're pretty much establishing from the start and building, and you're young. But I'm divorced now, so when I say, let's say I want to remarry, how is that going to look? Because I'll be marrying, obviously, I'm not going to be marrying somebody in their 20s starting out. Well, that would
maybe,
be nice.
maybe not.
Maybe not. I don't know if I want to do
Tina.
that.
Maybe not.
No. If I ever marry again, it's probably going to be someone established. And so it occurred to me, am I going to be marrying their credit? I have my credit, and I've worked hard to establish it and keep it good and high and whatever, and keep my debt low. So I was going to actually throw that question at you as to, what is that? I mean, are you marrying their credit? Can you keep it separate still after you marry?
I think that's a very good question. And the answer to the basic question, do you marry their credit, is yes and no. And the no part we'll start with.
All right.
If you have debt coming into a marriage, if you have individual credit cards, if you have individual auto loans, if you have individual mortgage, you have your own separate credit report.
Okay.
So their credit is not automatically merged into your credit.
Yet.
Well, yes. Let's say at the beginning their credit is not merged into your credit.
Mm-hmm.
You have your own credit. You have your individual credit cards, you have your individual mortgages and your individual auto loans.
Mm-hmm.
So the credits, reports, and scores stand separately, but as you all progress in your relationship, there are things that you are going to want to do jointly. Even though you have your own individual credit, he has his own individual credit. If you apply for a mortgage,
Oh.
they're going to pull these separate credit reports and they're going to make a decision based on how much he owes,
Mm-hmm.
how has he paid on what he owes,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to look at you and they're going to make a one decision based on what you guys look like jointly.
Yep.
Now, as far as the credit report is concerned, information will still continue to report separately unless you either are added to as a authorized user.
Yep.
So if your husband has a $30,000 Amex and he adds you as an authorized user, you now own not only his current payment history, but his previous payment history
Whoa.
on that Amex.
So you better think about that.
Better think about it. So it could be a good way to grow credit over here, or it could be a
Or-
good way to sink credit over here,
Yes.
depending on.
You don't really think about that when
Yeah,
you're getting married.
yeah.
Right? You're in love. You're going to do,
And it's not just him paying as agreed; it's how much of that credit he's using.
It's his credit
know,
story, like we talked about.
It's his credit story. People think, hey, I paid my bills as agreed. Why can't I borrow more money? Well, with that credit story, we take a look. Okay, your credit score is still low. It's in the 500s. Why is it still low? Because the other 65% of your credit score is not looking good. 35% of your credit score is how you pay your bills and do you pay them as agreed. 30% of your credit score is how much of your available revolving credit you use. So you can pay all your bills as agreed and you have $10,000 in credit cards and you have $9,999 spent. That's going to sink your credit score.
Right.
But the individual who's applying for money at the credit union is of the mindset, well, I pay all my bills as agreed. But you're maxed out. And the reality is, if you keep borrowing money from Peter to pay Paul, someone's going to get stiffed.
Yeah.
And the financial institutions, you're not the first person who's borrowed money from them. So we know, we have examples of what happens when people are maxed out and at some point in time they can't borrow any more money. They're going to start defaulting on loans. So getting back to our original topic, if your husband is maxed out on his credit cards, it will limit what you guys can do as a couple. And if you show up or agree to become an authorized user, then
impact me.
it can now impact you.
You have to be very thoughtful.
You got to be extremely thoughtful.
Think it through.
Now, we talked about something which was really, really interesting. We aren't going to spend a whole bunch of time on it. But as a couple, one thing that you can do is consolidate your revolving debt into an installment loan.
Right,
And
which is what we
even
did.
if he's maxed out on his credit cards and you put that into an installment loan, credit score is going to go up.
Yeah, yeah.
If he doesn't go out
Shop some more.
and shop some more,
you
you
can't
know.
control everybody, Sherrod.
Hey.
You just can't.
Who says?
You can cut up them cards or hide them.
But if he goes out and shops some more, then you're going to be right back to where you are. So there are strategies as a couple as to how you can collectively come together, protect each other from each other's bad credit experiences, lift the other up because you have good credit. But again, getting back to your original question, I said the yes and no, and I told you about the no part.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
it is yes in the end because your ability to gain additional credit as a couple is going to be predicated on your mate's credit. There is no escaping it. If you marry someone with poor credit and you're looking to get a mortgage, you are now going to be faced with some hurdles. If you marry someone who has a whole bunch of outstanding debt, the collections are going to make it difficult for you as a couple to be able to jointly do things. And so what you'll find is the one with good credit will then absorb all the responsibility of qualifying for rent, qualifying
Yeah,
for a mortgage,
that's true.
qualifying for auto loan.
They'll only look at the one person.
Right. But the problem with that
That
is
limits your access.
it limits your access. You may need the other one's income
Yeah.
to qualify.
You won't get a higher loan or whatever.
So
More
you have
dollars.
this situation where you have someone with high income but poor credit. And maybe you have great credit, but you don't have the income to qualify for the house on your own. And so, to Tina's point, you do marry the other person's credit. And so it's
Question
something
is,
you need to,
can you find out about that credit before you marry them?
well, that's a personal
Put your
situation.
credit score on this little piece of paper. Slide it over and show me.
Well, like I would just say this.
You're on a date.
Let's
What's your
just hope
credit
it's not
score?
on the first date. I don't think that'll get you many Tinder dates.
No, you don't think so? My sister has a great saying. She says, marriage is like buying a house. You need to go inside and look around and open doors before you purchase the house.
I just got a visual, but I'm not going to go there. Go ahead.
No, don't go there. But, it's the same thing with the finances with the person you might end up marrying.
Absolutely.
You want to look in the house, basically.
I think
Show
that,
me your finances.
I think when a relationship gets serious, that's a reasonable conversation to have.
It's not a deal breaker.
You
I
know,
mean, you can still,
it's a reasonable conversation to have because that person's credit is going to dictate the quality of your life moving forward. Now, I would say this, I am no relationship expert, though I'm proud of the fact that I've been with my wife for 30 years.
congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
But I think that money, personal finance, and credit are conversations that we need to have with our spouse.
Children.
They're conversations we need to have with our children,
Absolutely.
because I've talked about in other shows where my mother never really talked about credit and personal finance, but to her credit, she modeled behavior that was extremely positive behavior and paying bills as agreed and being financially responsible. And so without sitting me down and having a long, detailed conversation, her conduct
Yeah.
every second of the day
Same with my
was
parents.
about personal responsibility and taking care of your
Your bill.
your bills and all of that. So
Right.
I didn't get as much of the inside information as perhaps some people have with their parents.
Of course,
But
with this generation,
modeling is important as well.
besides the modeling, of course, these kids have everything at their fingertips. And now
Yes.
they can check their score daily.
Yes.
And they have fun with that technology.
They really do.
Yeah,
But it's
which is good.
dangerous. Things can happen so quickly.
Oh, I know.
When we were in college, when you were at the Ohio State
Go
University,
Buckeyes!
they were giving away free money as we saw it with
Yes.
these credit card offers.
I mean, I did. I literally saw it as free money. And my dad had to go, oh, no.
Well, that's
you
what
have to pay
happens.
this back. I'm like,
That's what
Okay.
happens.
I
We
was so
view
ignorant.
it as free money. And, there's
Yeah.
other shows that I've had where I try and get the guests and the audience to understand early on in your credit journey, I would like you to view credit as a instrument to build your financial capacity.
I like that.
It is an instrument to build financial capacity. That $500 credit card could grow your capacity to access the $10,000 if you don't go and max it out.
Right.
Because what happens is no different than in your personal life. If you manage that $500 credit card well, that credit card company will more than likely extend the credit limit. Other credit card companies will send you notifications.
Yeah.
And you know me, I like to liken your financial journey to your personal journey. If you are in a relationship and everyone sees how fantastic you treat your mate, then now other people are interested in being your mate or your next mate. And that is how it goes. So in credit, it is
the same
no
thing.
different.
That's funny. I like that.
It's no different. If creditors see you treating your access to credit responsibly and respectfully,
You will be
more credits
rewarded.
they'll knock on your
Oh,
door.
yeah, yeah.
All of a sudden, you get credit
Direct
card
mailers,
offers.
Yep. Emails.
Do you think people who don't pay their bills as agreed, have charged off credit cards, receive 0% interest credit card offers to transfer the debt that they have with one creditor to the next
No.
creditor? No,
If I don't have too much junk mail in their mailbox.
not positive junk mail anyway. No different than the person who mistreats his girlfriend
Yeah.
is not going to have a whole bunch of people standing in line waiting to date him or her when that relationship breaks up.
Yeah.
Everyone's running the other way. And so we need to look at our financial journey. It's not as complex as we would have it to believe. There's certain things that are very basic, and that is when you enter into an obligation, honor the obligation. You know, the idea of, well, I borrowed money, but then this happened and that happened. As a creditor, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
What I care about is you borrowed money and you didn't pay it back.
Right.
I do not want to hear the diatribe about why you didn't pay it back.
But
And
what you do want to see is a pattern of getting better and
Absolutely.
And,
Now, you make a very good
paying
point.
it back. You can change.
You can change. Credit is not, your credit score changes every time one of your creditors reports information to the credit bureau. So depending on how many accounts you have, your credit score has the ability to change once,
Like the
twice,
stock market.
3, 4, 5, 10 times a month.
Yeah.
If you have 10 different credit entries on your credit report, it will change or has the potential to change 10 times during that month. So let's say that you made bad choices. Don't give up on yourself.
No.
Start making better choices today.
Right.
If you had a credit card that was charged off when you were 21 years old, there's no reason for that to be the
No.
reason for you not to have credit in your 40.
Right.
Because news alert, that negative information can only stay
Oh yeah.
on your credit report for 7 years.
Yeah.
Now, news alert,
Another news alert.
another news alert,
We
really
need some
important.
graphics coming up as your marketing person.
We have
News
to
alert. News alert.
we have to get the producer to develop some
Okay.
graphics because this is a point that everyone wants to really absorb. Every day that goes by when there is a negative occurrence on your credit report, that negative occurrence has less and less impact. So, yes, you didn't pay a credit card, stays on your credit report 7 years, but in year one, that charge off has less impact on your credit score than it did when it happened. In year two, that charge off has less impact than when you started. In year three, each year that goes by, even that
Less and
negative
less.
information has less and less impact. If you miss a payment,
Well, provided you're doing well with your other payments.
now, ding, 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 news alert.
Okay, we need to.
we need another news alert. Provided you're doing well with your other payments. And Tina just makes a really, really good point, and I want to kind of make this point before we wrap this session up. I've given people advice on credit. I've given them strategies to improve from bad credit circumstances and move toward good. And they'll come in and they'll say, hey, I did what you told me to do. I paid this credit card down, and I'm ready to apply for more credit. And then we pull the credit report, and the credit score is the same or lower. And I say, wait a minute, didn't we have a conversation about paying your credit down? No, you told me to pay this credit card down. They've run up the other credit
no.
cards. You know, I jokingly say that's like peanut butter without the jelly.
Oh,
You know,
peanut butter
if you
without
don't put them
jelly.
together, I mean, together is a pretty scrumptious sandwich.
Oh yeah.
If you
Separate.
if you only take one piece of the advice and you don't follow through with the other responsibilities, then you're not going to enjoy that scrumptious sandwich.
Yeah.
And so I grew up in the urban area. It's like Kool-Aid without the sugar.
Oh,
Kool-Aid with
Yeah.
sugar is great.
Yeah.
If you only have one over here and one over there, not so good. So folks, when you are getting advice on your personal finances and credit, follow the advice completely. Do not follow one portion of the advice and ignore the other portion and think you're going to have positive results.
Yeah.
And don't take the advice and only do a portion of what's being asked of you. Follow this guidance to the T. We have a product, and it's a really interesting product. It is a Fresh Start loan.
Yes.
And the whole point of that product is to demonstrate that people can pay money over time. And we offer that loan to people to demonstrate that they can pay money over time. More times than not, the individual pays the loan off in full in 2 months because they think that if they pay the loan off faster,
No.
then it would be even more helpful. And I come back and I say, wait a minute, the guidance was make your payments as agreed each month because we want to see that you can pay as agreed. Well, hey, I did better than that.
No.
I paid the whole thing off in 2 months. Why is my credit score not as high as you said it was going to be? So when you're getting credit advice, pay attention to all the advice. And also be very careful from who you get credit advice from.
Sure. Good point.
Your mechanic is not a credit expert.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. And so when you are making decisions that are going to impact the quality of your life, where you and your family are going to live, how you're going to live, with the cost of housing just going through the roof, it's going to be imperative that you manage your finances responsibly and that you keep a solid credit score because it's going to be a mountain any way you slice it. And managing that credit responsibly will always give you access. And here at The Truth About Credit, it's all about the access. So thank you for joining Tina and I
Thank you for having me here.
in the studio once again. And I'm definitely going to bring you back. I love talking to you about credit. We always have fun.
Okay.
All right, thank you. But thank you for joining us at The Truth About Credit, where we understand that it's not how much money you have, it's all about how much money you have access to. Have a wonderful day.